Hello everyone, Larry Satchwell here, working on my next project, an end table. My wife has been asking for me to build this for years, and we never could come to an understanding about how she wanted the wood to look. And in fact, I've mentioned it in a couple of different videos. And recently, I think we've come to an understanding. She doesn't want the finish on the wood or mill marks like that, which I thought she wanted, or a hand scraped look. She just wants old lumber. So I've got this pile of really rough stuff I'm going to turn into this. I'd show you a picture of it, but I'm sure it's copyrighted. She found this on a popular website that delivers for free, but it was expensive and I like the challenge. This is going to be a challenge. It's going to take a lot of different tools and several different days. Now let's get started. Because we've never seen this piece of furniture in person, I want to make up some designs to make sure we are on the same page. I'd hate to go to all this work and then have it rejected. So this is the tabletop, and I showed her pictures of the original. It showed 4 individual boards, or 3, I don't remember. It then had breadboards, and then it had a wraparound. At the beginning, she didn't think she wanted just a plain thing here, and I told her that wasn't going to work. So anyway, I drew up 4 different designs. This one has 3 boards at 6 inches. Overall, it's 26 inches long and 22 inches wide. Different dimensions than the one online. This one has 3-inch boards, and this one has 4.5-inch boards with a 2-inch surround. This one was with a 3-inch picture frame on it, and so was the first one. So she and my daughter agreed that they wanted number 3. So number 3 it will be. Now that we've established what the top's going to look like, I think I have enough wood to make this. It's going to be close, but I got this wood from a place in Monroe, Georgia that specializes in reclaimed lumber. They're open on the weekends, so I'm sure I can go back. This is heart pine, and heart pine is a very common used wood here in the South back in the day. You can see that it's got nice tight rings in it. It's very heavy, has a lot of resin in it. Nice tight rings compared to this piece of modern wood that's on top. I bought that a few months ago, and it has since twisted, and you can see how wide the rings are. So it's great lumber to work with. One of my concerns is that it's full of hardware. And where I bought it, he allowed me to use his metal detector. All the other boards, as far as I can tell, are metal free, but this one has a lot of stuff in the end. I have a deconstruction blade on my circular saw, and I could just start slicing away here until I find clean lumber. But because this project is going to be so close on using lumber, and I don't want to waste any, I want to try to get most of these nails out that I can at least see, and then start slicing it to make sure I've got it all out so it doesn't ruin my expensive saw blades or my planer blades. Well, I was unsuccessful in taking the nails out. They're square nails, and they're all breaking off in there. So I've got a metal and wood saw blade here. It just barely cuts through here. I've marked off 1 inch. I'm going to take off this 1 inch to see what I've got then. There's only 2 left here. It looks like I got most of it on that. So remember, she doesn't want this to have a milled finish. I think she wants it to look like new wood, but it's old wood. So I'm going to plane both sides of this. But before I run it through my planer, I mean, this has got some really, I don't know if that's tar or sap or what that is. It looks like sap. Being this old pine like that, it's going to have sap pockets like that. and those will continue to come out forever. So I'm going to use a wire brush on my Restore just to clean the surface up and to make sure there's no surface nails on here. And then the next step after it's all cleaned up is to run it through my planer. I'm indoors today, it's raining, so I've got my this hooked up to my shop vac, and it's going to be very loud. If I were making it for myself, I would sand this and leave that on there. These are circular saw blades, not a bandsaw like you see today. But I'm not making it for myself. Well, that was a lot of work for my old Delta planer. I'm gonna go check with the boss to make sure this is the look she's going for. Day 2, I got an approval. Not exactly sure. It wasn't an enthusiastic approval, but we're going to move forward. I've got them planed down. It took a terrible toll on the knives, so I've put new blades in the planer. And in looking these over, I just discovered I'm pretty sure there's a nail right there or a screw. So moving forward, I'm going to try to get this nail out, and then I'm going to joint one edge, cut these into 4.5-inch slices. So I just talked to Karen, and she likes these 4 boards for the top. I've arranged them like this. I'm going to glue them in pairs. They're a little uneven still. This one's got a bit of a twist. So I'm going to glue them in pairs, and then I'll run them through the planer once again, and then I'll glue this joint. I plan on putting a chamfer on this side, but if I run it through the planer, I don't know how much of that I'm going to lose. So instead of that, I will glue them together and then use a V veining tool here, because I still want these to look like 4 distinct boards. off camera, I have been busy. I used my Norm Abrams panel cutter and cut the board to size. I ripped down the additional pieces I had and have put biscuits in them. So it took me a couple hours to carefully take this all around, but I'm set for that. That was very time consuming. So what I'm set up now for is I need to put a V-groove or a vein where these boards meet, because I definitely want them to look like four different boards. And after I do that, I need to run a chamfering bit the same angle on this side and around these and on the ends. So that's what I'm getting ready to do, is use the router to put that groove in there. Got it all set. Sounds like I need to let the cat out, and then we'll get started. I'm going to glue this up in 2 stages. I'm going to glue this long pieces on, but I'm going to clamp it all together. And I've decided not to use any biscuits on these long pieces. It's really not going to add any strength to it. But this is a cross grain situation, and I'm really taking a risk here with that, because even though this is really old wood, it doesn't matter. It's still going to change with humidity. So on the ends here, I'm going to try to glue those in with just biscuits at each board, and then a biscuit on each miter. But again, everything could open up over time. But with today's glues, they're pretty good. So because that's the way it's supposed to look, that's what I'm going for. So the top is done, so I'm working on the skirt here. I've cut them to width, cut them at 45-degree angles, put a number 10 biscuit, and cut a slot in here because I'm going to be using this kind of a tabletop fastener. So I've got these marked, and I'm trying to make sure I've got these going correct. Putting a little glue in the slots. I know that one of my original YouTube videos was closing up a miter joint. And by the way, it's still really good. But I know people don't believe me. It's gotten a lot of views and a lot of negative comments, but I'm over it. I know it's working. These biscuits are hard to put in on miters. I thought I would make a number 10 hole and then put a number 0 biscuit in it, but the number 0 biscuit wasn't wide as what I wanted it to be. So I'm hoping these biscuits will help a little bit in keeping these miter joints closed. Wow, I am amazed, actually. Let me catch you up. Obviously, the top is finished. You're looking at the bottom of it. And then once this was glued up and out of the frame, I made this bottom piece. This has a little detail that the top is going to get. And it sits on here like this. So the next step is to temporarily attach this skirt on here so I can take it up and show it to Karen, put it in the spot it's going to be in, and make sure it's right. These little clips allow for movement in the wood, and they're easily put in and taken out as needed. They come with the screws. I'll put a link in the description below. And right now I'm just going to add a couple, maybe 3 here, because I want to turn this tabletop over and put the detail that the little skirt has on top. When you put these in, you don't want to just jam them up to the top. You want to allow that top for some movement. Now, because I'm making this for my wife, I want to make sure that it gets done right. And I've taken some old pellet 2x4s and ripped them in just rip them into these small pieces, so that now I can go ahead and screw them on here. She wanted the tabletop 21 inches tall, or 20, I'm sorry, she wanted the tabletop 22 inches tall. So that's how long these are cut to make that happen. This is not going to be the way I attach the final legs. Okay. Time to take it upstairs and see what it's going to look like. So I took that up there yesterday afternoon, and boy, I'm glad I did. She decided she wanted the table 24 inches tall. So, no problem. Hadn't made the legs yet. But I did this morning. I glued up some more of that scrap 2x4 and rough turned a leg. So that's what it's going to look like. There's going to be a shelf on the bottom, so that's why this one's a little bit long. This is approximately 2 3/8 inches wide, and that's because that's the largest piece of this timber that I have, the lumber that I have. So the next thing I need to do is to cut some of that stuff up to length. So this is actually 23 1/4 inches tall, and that accommodates for a 3/4 inch lid. My next step is to get 4 turning blanks, 23 1/4 inches long, 2 1/2 inch square. I've got my joiner set up here, so I'll do all that off camera, nothing fancy there. And then when I get ready to turn, I'll show you how I do that.